would one of the pastor porters be willing to give the invocation? We should all rise to the invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the reminder that beauty still exists all around us in a world that sometimes seems lost in its own chaos. Father, we pray for the mayor tonight, that you would restore him to health. We pray for Commissioner Pollard as he leads tonight. God, give him wisdom and strength to carry on the business before us. For all these things, Father, we are immensely thankful to be living in the city of Caldwell, where good things are happening all around us. Father, protect our city, protect the health of its citizens, and we will give you the glory and praise for everything that you do. We pray this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, the clerk call the roll, please.
Pollard,
Here.
McGee,
Here.
Aldridge,
Here.
Hopper,
Here.
Colton.
Here.
We do have a quorum of council members present. Council member McGee is attending by Zoom. Are there any items on the agenda that present a conflict for any members? Hearing none, we do have one special presentation tonight, and Councilman Aldridge is going to be presenting that.
Thank you. This is a proclamation for Deed to Sorrow Day. I'm guessing a lot of you guys are family. Would you guys just stand up so you all here for Deed, please? Awesome. Thank you so much. It's my honor to give this presentation. I wasn't a good friend of Dee's or anything, but I've known him since he served worked at the service station, and seen a copy of Mr. Dee's forever. And years ago, my son and I used to enjoy shooting bows. We weren't great hunters or anything, but we'd go down to the range, and Dee would always sit out there and give us tips and rebuild broken arrows and keep us supplied in range arrows. And another thing is, my wife's uncle is Jack Noble from East Cleveland Beverage, and I see all these pictures up there, bears and monster fish, and so it's really my honor to be the one that reads this proclamation tonight. Whereas Deed Eloy Deed to Sorrow was born and raised in Idaho, and whereas Deed to Sorrow joined the Army in 1963 and was honorably discharged in 1969, and whereas Deed to Sorrow worked at Todd 66 on Cleveland and 10th Avenue and eventually purchased the station, working there until he retired, and whereas Deed to Sorrow was an avid hunter, fisherman, and acclaimed archer, and whereas Deed to Sorrow provided exceptional effort and leadership in planning and design of Apollo Archery Range, spending countless hours working and exceeding all expectations, and on July 31st, 2020, the city officially dedicated the archery range. And whereas Deed to Sorrow was a very kind-hearted, gentle soul who would give the shirt off his back, now therefore I, Garrett Nancolis, Mayor of the City of Caldwell, do hereby proclaim Monday, August 17, 2020, as Deed to Sorrow Day in the City of Caldwell, to recognize the wonderful legacy Deed to Sorrow left our community and to follow his example of kindness and compassion. And this is signed by the Mayor. Who would like to take this?
This is Dee's brother, Rudy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
You guys, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other special presentations that I'm not aware of? Having none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council about an item that is not on the agenda? Dan?
Hello, Councilman, and everybody else. Dan Plummer from the Idaho Veterans Garden at 305 West Belmont Street in Caldwell. I've been with the garden this is going on our 6th year. The city of Caldwell has taken it up to sponsor the garden and make it happen for the veterans in the community and other community members. It's been a great asset to the community and really good thing for myself. Pretty much saved my life numerous times. Indeed, it's gotten a lot better in my life. We are in the process of trying to put Caldwell on the map. There's 8 cities throughout the United States that have statues of female. We want to be, there were 7 others, we want to be 8, we'll be the first combat statue ever made, besides artists. We have an artist that's doing the drawing, and I'd like to show the city council and everybody else that, the drawing of it. What we have planned to do, we have, and the reason that we're doing the statue is called the Promise, is for our fallen hero, Carrie French, who was killed in combat, June 5th, 2005. We want to make sure we honor her. She's the first female ever killed in combat in the state of Idaho. That's something that we should all take part of, and all should be part of. We've been doing some fundraising, but we have come up way short, especially with the virus and stuff going on. It's been really hard to get into businesses and talk to them, the main people. We're looking for the city of Caldwell to possibly help us get the statue part done, which is $150,000. We have people that do all the other work, marble work. We have owners for the marble, the eagle, all the other stuff, the landscaping. So it's about probably a $400,000 job that the city would be asked to help us with about $150,000, and that's the artist, rendering, getting the casting and all that stuff. I guess doing a bronze statue is pretty expensive. This one's going to be 2 females, one laying, and the one that's laying on the American flag, and they'll be have a sheet with heat. And then it'll look just like an American flag that she's laying on. And as she takes her last breath, the other soldiers keep following her, which was Carrie French's job. She was in, the unit she was with was picking up people that were showing combat. And so she was actually part of the unit that was doing that. She had actually volunteered to do a show for somebody else that was killed that day. So she took the extra job and was killed by an IED. So we'd like to get everybody involved. We'd like to have the whole community involved in this, because it's not just the veterans. We all have freedom because of Carrie and people and other veterans like her. The only thing that this picture is it has the Idaho Fallen Women's Memorial on it, and that's not the time for the Idaho Heroes Memorial. Because we want to honor all of our fallen soldiers. We have 14 fallen soldier families that participate in the garden you guys have started here. That's huge. I don't know any other place in the United States that has 14 fallen soldiers families that come every single week to take care of the flocks, to honor their son and daughters and celebrate life. And it's given them a choice to go to honor and celebrate life rather than go on death. So we're just asking the city to help us a little bit, if you guys can maybe help us. And we're just struggling with things going on. Open questions.
I assume that you and the mayor have had discussions about this.
We've had quite a few. We have some, and we also have some people that are possible donors, that have been having possible donors for a long time now, and it's, we need to make sure we get this going before something else is, before we get too far down the road. We promised them the Veterans Hall we had 7 years ago, and we haven't done it yet. So each time Carrie's mom is giving me blessings to do this, she asked me if I do this, and I told her I would, and I made sure that it happened. So the promise has been kept. We raised a little fund with the Veterans Hall when they were doing ours, but it didn't happen. They canceled it out for some reason unknown to me. But it's not a bad thing on them. They just had a lot going on with that building, and they had to do it. So they plan on helping some, I don't know exactly what, I've been talking to Randy, their council chairman, and he said that they'd be interested in being part of it. We're trying to gel the two organizations in one, and get to working together, that's our future plan, so.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. McGuire?
Mr. Chairman, Danny, what is the timeframe you're looking at?
We were hoping to have it in fall this year, but done by fall, but, the artist is ready to send it to the rendering and back to the fall and get it done. And at any time that we can come up with some money, we're just a little bit shy. We have $20,000 to put down on it. He needed 30 to get the molding started, so he just ran ahead and did it all the way to the point of casting it, so that's what the point they're at. We'll, $50,000 we'll finish. And that's a huge amount of money, especially when you can spend $150,000 on housing or something to that effect. But I think it's something that'll put us in another category with other people in other communities. It'll bring more people who have done such great things in this city, and I think we can step up and maybe do something even bigger than all of us.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Now, before we continue with other people that might want to speak to the council, I understand the Sorrow family would like to have a picture taken. So can we take a brief moment to do that?
Do you want to have them stand up in front so that you can see the city council line?
Can we get up there?
Or maybe just in front of the podium?
Yeah.
What should we do?
Right here.
Just right up there. One, two, three, cheese. That's my only thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, I see no one. That brings us to the consent calendar.
Can I, for 1 second?
Oh,
By chance, I was trying to encourage other people to go in front of me. So I'm Carrie Smith-Sigmund, and just wanted to thank you for your guys' leadership in working on the safety of our community. And as Indian Creek Plaza and Destination Caldwell, we have been encouraging masks, especially when social distancing cannot be maintained. I would like to remind people that the science shows that you have to be in the same 6-foot radius for longer than 15 minutes for the disease to spread. And I believe that, I just wanted to support the city council in continuing encouraging mask standard versus a mask mandate. There was a social media thread in which members of elected bodies were encouraging people to come and try and enforce a mask mandate, and so we are here just essentially saying we support you in what you have done thus far. The numbers have been coming down over the last couple of weeks. That's very encouraging. Anything we can do to get our kids back in school is incredibly important. I spoke a couple weeks ago about, how this has been impacting our community, specifically, our children, and the high volume of children that have been left unattended at Indian Creek Plaza. And so, definitely in support of everything we can do to get our kids back in school and increasing the safety of them. But, just wanted to show support of everything you have been doing thus far, and I would encourage you to, stay the course.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, now that brings us to the consent calendar.
Chairman,
Mr. Colvin,
I would move to accept the consent calendar as printed.
is there a second? Second. Will the clerk call the roll?
Alton,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Allgood,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Hopper.
Thank you, the consent calendar has been approved. That brings us to old business. The first, item is a public hearing, pursuant to Idaho State Code 50-1002 for consideration of the proposed budget of the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020, and ending September 30th, 2021. People sign up for that, right? Okay, if anyone wishes to, speak to the public hearing, you can sign up, on the sheets that are here at the table. And Carol, you're on.
Thank you, Chairman, council members. We're here tonight to approve your fiscal year 2021 budget. We have spent several months holding public hearings, or workshops, I should say, not public hearings. Tonight is a public hearing. We have spent several months going through budget workshops to present to you this budget. You have before you the proposed expenditures that were presented at the August 3rd council meeting. So your total proposed expenditures for fiscal year 2021 are $88,209,702. This represents approximately a 3% increase from last year's budget. Your non-property tax revenues are $60,040,978. The proposed property tax revenue is $18,984,179, for total revenue of $79,025,157, with a request to use fund balance in various different funds of $9,184,546, which will balance your fiscal year 2021 budget. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Ms. Robbins?
With this, I just want to put this on the record. With this, budget, are we taking any tax increase whatsoever?
Councilman Allgood, Chairman, your property tax budget of $18,900,000 and something does not include the 3% increase that we are allowed to take. It does include the new construction that was presented to us from the county, and it does not include any foregone.
And what does, this expect to do to our levy rate?
It's, actually, we are decreasing our levy rate.
It's going down.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Colton, did you have a question?
I think Mr.
No?
Waller.
Okay. Well, no one has signed up to speak, in support, in neutral, or against this. So I will declare this public hearing closed, which brings us to action item number 2, to consider bill number 34, ordinance number 3291. I will read this bill and ask for your approval. An ordinance entitled Appropriation Ordinance for the Fiscal Year beginning October 1, 2020, appropriating the sum of $88,209,702 to defray the expense and liabilities of the City of Caldwell, Idaho for said fiscal year, authorizing a levy of sufficient tax on the taxable property, and specifying the objects and purposes for which said appropriation is made.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Colton.
I would move that we waive the three reading rule, consider bill number 34, ordinance 3291 on its first reading by title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hopper. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Colvin.
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Allgood.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I will sponsor bill number 34, ordinance 3291, move for its passage.
Second. Second by Mr. Hopper. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Colvin.
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Allgood.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes. Okay, ordinance number 34, bill number 34, ordinance number 3291 is passed. That brings us to action item number 3 under old business. A public hearing pursuant to Idaho State Code 63-8021F for consideration of reserving additional foregone for the fiscal year that begins October 2020 and ends September 30th, 2021. So I will open this public hearing, and Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you, Chairman, Council. Tonight you have before you a new item. This is the result of legislation that was passed this current legislative session, that we now have to hold a public hearing to declare foregone property tax revenues to be preserved for any kind of future use. So tonight you have before you the public hearing to request the reservation of $551,922 of foregone revenue. This represents the 3%, Commissioner Allgood, that you asked, Councilman Allgood, that you asked about earlier in the previous public hearing. So therefore, we're asking to have this amount foregone into our foregone amount. And with that, I'll stand for
That
questions.
does not mean that we are receiving it this budget year.
Correct. We are not receiving
In
it.
the future, we can if we need it.
We can request it in the future.
Anyone else have any questions? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. That brings us to action item number 4, to consider a resolution authorizing the reserving of the foregone amount for fiscal year 2021 for potential use in subsequent years, as described in the Idaho State Code 63-802. I will read this resolution and ask for your approval. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Caldwell, Idaho, reserving foregone amount for the fiscal year 2021 for potential use in subsequent years, as described in Idaho Code 63-802. Is there a motion to accept this resolution?
Mr. President, move to adopt this resolution.
Motion by Mr. Hopper, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Allgood. Okay, then, clerk, call the roll, please.
Hopper.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Allgood.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Colvin.
Yes.
The resolution has passed. Okay, that brings us to action item number 5 under old business, a public hearing pursuant to Idaho State Code 63-1311A to consider acceptance of fees over 5% of that previously charged from the Caldwell City Clerk, Golf Department, Planning and Zoning Department, and Recreation Department. And are you doing this?
Chairman, council, you didn't realize that all of the business was all about me tonight, did you?
Better you than me.
Get it over with. Okay, thank you, Chairman and Council. You have before you the fees that represent fiscal year 2021, and they will come to you for a public hearing in September. But these are any fees that exceed 5% or are new fees. So we have a couple departments that are presenting increased fees over 5% and some new fees coming from the city clerk's office, the golf department, planning and zoning, and recreation. And with that, I'll stand for questions if you have any questions regarding any of the increase in fees or the new fees being presented tonight.
Any questions for Mitchell? Hearing none, is there a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Alves, second by Mr. Hopper. All those in favor? No problem. No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And this brings us to action item number 6, a public hearing pursuant to Idaho State Code 631311A to consider fees over 5% of that previously charged for public works and engineering, including new fees and an increase to or creation of fines. And who's doing this one? Oh, Mr. Orton.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the City Council. These are, there are a number of new fees. Some of these were discussed in the budget workshop, and particularly the right-of-way permits. We know with the as technology progresses, with the advent of 5G technology, communication providers are working like crazy to get additional conduit in the ground. We've had a number of negative experiences the public have endured, whether it's been excessive road closures or poor workmanship. And so we've taken a number of steps to try to minimize that risk. I'll just describe a few of them to you. So I'm going to get to those. First, I'm just going to go through the whole list here of fees that will be over 5%. In water, there is a new fee, which of course then constitutes something greater than 5%, because anything more than 0 is more than 5%. And so there's a fine that's been enacted in water to penalize the tampering of fire hydrants. We had recently a problem with illegal tampering of fire hydrants, which is a real risk to the public. If someone tampers a fire hydrant and we have simultaneously the unlikelihood of a main break, it could cause a negative pressure that would draw undesirable things into the water system. That's just water safety is so important. We just don't tolerate any risk like that. So there's a fine, a stiff fine of $500 for tampering a fire hydrant. There is a legal way to use fire hydrants, and that is through a protocol that's already established, working with the water department. There is, in the sanitation fund, there is also a set of fines that's been established for, we just placed the compactor in the downtown, and it's awesome. It's a great tool when you have really no place for people to throw dumpsters and carts. However, we've had a couple bumps in the road, and the members of the public who work with the downtown business owners have been great. In fact, to the point where maybe it isn't necessary to have these fines at this point, but we've enacted some fines, including fines for leaving open trash bags or trash bags, period, instead of putting them in the compactor. And the user gets charged for how many times they put trash in the compactor. So that's how Republic Services keeps that fair with our customers. Also for excessive liquid, if there's excessive liquid, there is a drain to the sewer, so it's not going to cause any kind of hazard, but it does make the tipping fees more expensive for everyone else if there's excessive liquid. So anyway, I think that's probably enough unless you have further questions on that. There are a set of fines for, and cleaning fees for the manner in which the compactor enclosure is used. No carts are allowed there. Grease receptacles are allowed in the compactor enclosure. If this resolution is ultimately adopted at the next council meeting, and that's, the grease does, with allowing grease receptacles, we do have a cleaning fee that can be levied if surveillance shows that a user has intentional or unintentional spills. We wouldn't expect it to be intentional, but it just, helps to defray the cost of caring for that compactor. Engineering fees is where you really have, those big changes, and so we're gonna look at those specifically. There is a significant penalty for, working in the right-of-way without a right-of-way permit. This fee resolution also, if it were adopted, it would also penalize those who seek right-of-way permits but begin work without, ahead of the period, or begin work, or continue work after the expiration of the permit. All they have to do to fix that is come and schedule it. They'll pay the additional fees per day. The fees are, for the council's requirements, distributed over, for different classifications of road, and also they increase for a longer period of use simply by being charged on a daily basis. So we're attempting to motivate those who need to close the road to complete their work as quickly as possible and get the road back open. Then you also have we also have a requirement in this is not just your fee resolution, but also your policies concerning these things. And so this would allow the council to pass a policy that requires a franchise fee to work in the right of way. So if a contractor is working on behalf of an entity that does not have a franchise agreement with the city of Caldwell, they would be required to have a grace period to secure a franchise agreement, and then they would not be able to have work done in the public right of way of the city of Caldwell until a franchise agreement is secured. So if they're diligent, it should give them the opportunity to get that done. And then that sets forth an agreement between them and the city as to how things will work, and also helps to defray the cost of having utilities interrupt the road section. This is the actual permit cost. Local streets are those that would normally get subdivisions. Collectors are those that are typically on the half mile. And arterials, both minor and principal arterials, are typically on the mile. How you keep the network moving. So these are the fees. With no lane closures, it's a fixed fee. So you'll notice the single star is a single fee if there's no road closure. If there's lane closures with flaggers, then it is a daily fee that is paid. If it's a full road closure, it's also a daily fee. You can see that fee is the one that advances, based on the importance of the road being closed. And then the fine schedule, I'll get down to that. Working before or after a permit date, they secured a permit, but they're working outside of those dates, they'll pay a daily fee of $200, a daily penalty of $200. Working in the right of way without a permit is a daily penalty of $1,000. And that's it, but it's very important that it be, there's, the work that's happening right now, it's urgent, the companies need it done, and so sometimes there's pressure from the contractors to finish that. We just need to encourage them to go through the proper channels. And our staff are diligent, and they, someone who can work with us quickly, we can quickly respond. So that is the substance of the changes. So technically, these are all new fees and not increased fees, but with that, I will answer your question.
Okay, council, we have any questions for Mr. Orton?
Thank you.
No one has signed up to speak in favor, neutral, or against this. So is there a motion to close the public hearing? Moved by Mr. Carlson, second by Mr. Hopper. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. That completes our old business, and it moves us into new business. The first action item is a public hearing quasi judicial. Again, if you want to speak on this, public hearing, you need to sign up on the sheets over on the table.
Mr. President, attached to the fees,
Certainly.
there are a number of resolutions, we don't need to pass this tonight, but next time.
Okay, this brings us to the quasi judicial case number AMD 20-03. A request by BOOS Development West LLC to terminate development agreements associated with properties R00383, R00384, R00385, R00386, and R00382. Recorded as document 20043608, 20060793, and 2007000586. The required development conditions are complete, will be completed with new construction subject to current city code standards and/or specific to prior development projects, and no longer applying to the subject property. The property is located at 612 North 10th Avenue in Hall. Now, everyone who plans to speak at this quasi-judicial hearing, if you will stand and the clerk will swear you in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear affirm the testimony you'll provide tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. May be seated.
Okay, I've asked the city attorney to keep track of the evidence list for me. And so who's going to make the presentation? Ms. Ruth?
Thank you, Mr. Council President and council members. As indicated in the case request, we are here to consider the termination of development agreements associated with properties at lots 13 through 15 of Block 54 Boone's Addition, which is slated to be utilized as a new McDonald's restaurant location. And the development agreements that are currently still in play with the properties at this location are, they're either not applicable to the proposed use of the property, there was supposed to be a detail shop being opened up there, and so that development agreement and conditions of approval that apply to it don't apply, or they're, currently have been adopted into the code, the frontage requirements and the improvements to the roadways, just all of the engineering and public works items that will be, they're required by code at the time of development of the structure and parking at that location. Booth Development has gone through the process of rezoning the one remaining parcel that was part of this property to the C3 or C2 zoning. And so they're just in the preparation of making this a clean transaction for the property. The only concern that Rob McDonald from City Engineering addressed with me was that Booth Development understands that in the future that the access point on the alley will at some point become a right-in, right-out, or likely to be a restricted access, basically. At the meeting with the hearing examiner, they acknowledged that as well, so, but that said, I'll stand for questions.
You want to have questions for this group?
Mr. President,
Mr. Robert?
just a curiosity, and as I read through the staff report, it seems to indicate that all of the conditions of the development agreement are either superseded by current requirements under C2 or we're already satisfied. So I'm just kind of curious, why would we worry about this? What's the benefit to getting rid of what's already gonna have to happen?
These development agreements stand in perpetuity against the property, and so they prefer that they will, it just clears the requirements items against the property, conditions of approval. Some of them may not apply at all, and, or, just aren't applicable, and they just kind of cloud the use and title of the property.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much for this.
I will monitor.
Anyone else have questions?
Mr. Chairman, so originally we approved this lot for a McDonald's by Mr. McDougal. I mean, he was the one that came in here, I believe. But, now we're gonna change this to a detail shop?
No, I apologize if I confused that. Currently, the property was being utilized for Fast Track Car Wash.
Right.
There was also Moxie Java Station there, and it is no longer. And then the development agreements don't necessarily apply to the properties where the car wash is. They actually apply to property where the parking lot and the, detail shop was supposed to be. So, it doesn't even, the development agreements don't even apply to all of the properties, just those properties that had been rezoned. Yes. They're in the process of, combining all the properties into one contiguous parcel, so that we own one parcel. And, we have a sign permit in process right now for them to put up construct a large pole sign. And so it's a process they're going through to, just clean up all the outstanding documents and title on the property.
You have me confused.
Sorry.
I'm easily confused.
Any other council members have questions for this group? Hearing none, thank you. Is there someone else going to be speaking on this? If you state your name and confirm that you have been sworn in, and your address.
Good evening, council members. My name is Leanna Simpson, project applicant with Rose Development West. I have been sworn in.
And I'm sorry, your name?
Leanna Simpson with Rose Development West.
Okay, I see you signed up neutral.
Just on the question, or any questions? I'm here for any questions you may have, so.
Do any of you have questions for, Ms. Swenson? Thank you very much. We also have, and I'm sorry,
I'll give you a nickel if you say it right.
pardon me?
I'll give you a nickel if you say it right. I'll tell you what my grandpa told me.
You live on Goodson Lane?
Yes.
Yes.
My grandpa told me, which got me SWAT, notice, okay, Principal Morton, that if that teacher was worth her weight in salt, she'd know that E makes one of them O's sound. So it's James Cole.
Oh, thank
So
you.
really, I signed up as neutral just because I wanted to kind of keep abreast of the situation, obviously. I'm right next door.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to make sure I knew what was going on with
Okay, I need you to give your name, address, and confirm that you have been sworn in.
Okay, James Combs. I reside at 18081 Goodson Road here in Caldwell, out in the country. And yes, I was sworn in. Thank you. I don't have any questions. Where are they at?
Thank you very much. Those are the only folks that have signed up. on this. Do any council members have questions for anyone that's spoken? If not,
Mr. Mayor, or Mr.
yes, Mr. Carlson.
I wanted to ask Ms. Ruth one final question, if I may. Does staff have any problem with these changes?
Staff does not. Staff supports the clearing of the, development agreement on the property and, feels strongly that all, items that were addressed in the development agreement or not addressed will be covered by code at the time of development of the.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Attorney, I understand we have, 2 items for the evidence list.
Plan sheet and staff reports.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. That brings us to the comprehensive plan analysis.
Mr. Council President,
Mr. Wagner.
and I may try to just, move this along a little quicker, since the mayor's not here to add all this together, but I make a motion to accept the comprehensive plan analysis, the findings of fact, conclusion of law, and approve case AMB 2003 as written in staff report.
The clerk tells me we have to separate those out.
I don't think we have to legally, but if you want to, we can.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the comprehensive plan analysis? Okay, motion was made by Mr. Wagner, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second by Mr. Carlson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That brings us to findings of fact.
Mr. President,
Mr. Allgood.
City Council accepts the facts outlined in the staff reports with the testimony and the evidence list. All adopted city ordinances and standards and codes we use in evaluating the application. Sir?
Okay, motion by Mr. Allgood, is there a second? Mr. Hopper, seconding. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Conclusions of law.
Mr. President,
Mr. Allgood.
all city council has the authority to hear this case in order that be approved or denied. Public notices requirements were met, and the hearing was conducted within the guidelines of applicable city code and city ordinances.
Okay, motion by Mr. Allgood, second by Mr. Hopper. All those in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to the order of decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Carlson.
based on the finding of facts and conclusion of law, the Colville City Council hereby orders that case number AMD 2003, a request to terminate existing development agreement recorded as instrument number 200436086, page 226, 20060779923, and 20070000586, associated with parcel R00384, lot 16 and 17, block 54 of Boone Addition, and R00383, the northerly 62 feet of lot 1350, block 54 of Boone Addition, but retain the current zone of R2 zone designate is approved.
Motion by Mr. Carlson, second by,
Oh, did I say
R.
excuse me, I'm sorry.
motion by Mr. Carlson, second by Mr. Hopper. And this requires a roll call vote, so the clerk will roll.
Carlson?
Yes.
Pollard?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Wagner?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to close the, public hearing? Public hearing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? public hearing is closed. That brings us to action item number 2, pursuant to Idaho State Code 20-1002, to consider acceptance of the budget amendment for fiscal year 2019-20, and set the public hearing date for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020.
Thank you, Council Chair. We have before you tonight amendment to your fiscal year 20 budget. This budget request is to increase the budget amendment increase your budget for 2020 and to call for a public hearing to be set on September 8th, 2020, in this room at 7 o'clock.
Thank you, and just note, September 8th is a Tuesday because Monday is Labor Day. Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Okay, is there a motion to accept this and set the date for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020?
I move to accept the budget amendment for 2019-2020 and set the public hearing date for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, with changes.
Motion by Mr. Hopper, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Allgood. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. That brings us to our finance report.
Mr. President,
Mr. Allgood.
Finance Committee has reviewed current accounts payable in the amount of $864,080.21 for a period ending August 12th, 2020, and net payroll of $408,391.52 for a pay period ending August 1st, 2020. I move that accounts payable in the amount of $864,080.21, represented by check numbers 147753 through 147883, and payroll in the amount of $408,391.52, represented by check numbers 34853 through 34889. Direct deposits be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Motion by Mr. Allgood, second. Second. Second by Mr. Hopper. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That brings us to council reports. Mr. Coulson.
Nothing there.
Mr. Allgood.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Hopper.
I'm good today.
Mr. Wagner.
I'm gonna break. I just need to say a few things. I know Carrie already left, but I did appreciate her comments today. I think I was one of the lone wolves, on the Indian Creek Festival, so hoping that it would go forward. And I think it's important to, consider everything, when we make those decisions. I know the mayor and Business Cola made that, but, realizing, yes, there is a risk out there, and, COVID is a real thing, it's not something made up, whatever. And there are physical, issues with it, but I know that I'm starting to see a lot of mental and emotional issues from people on the opposite side. I serve as a bishop for a church congregation, Young Seawood Oaks, and I meet with them on a regular basis, and the number that I meet with and talk about regarding emotional, mental issues, a lot, just because they're so cooped up, don't have outlets to, get out and, release that tension or whatever it is. It's taking a big toll on them. I know there was an article in the paper this last week where suicide has doubled, compared to last year at this time. So those numbers are real. I think that's something we do need to take into consideration. I know things are hopping at the plaza. There was an event on Saturday that was very well attended. And I think, again, we need to realize that the risks are real, but I think sooner or later we have to allow the people to regulate themselves, and, just try to weigh in that mental and emotional aspect of, again, just being so cooped up for so long and allow people to get out. And I know they still can, but, those things are there. So I just wanted to say that I did appreciate her bringing that to the forefront. I know that, obviously, the Inter Creek Festival counts. The winter wonderland is going to be upon us before we know it. We need to start thinking about that and And a one-day event's not gonna hurt, I mean, it's gonna hurt the businesses, but not considerably, but with Winter Wonderland night getting, if we run into those issues, we're not ready for them, we will see businesses shuttered. So just something to start. I know it seems like, especially with 103 today, to talk about that, but it is gonna be here before we know it, so I think we need to make sure we're prepared to put that on and whatever we can do to make sure it moves forward. So, thank you for allowing me the time to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. And I have no comments, oh, Mr. McGee, I'm sorry.
No, tonight, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I apologize for missing you. Okay, that brings us to item number 6, which is the executive session. Who would like to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Carlson.
I move to go into executive session, pursuant to Idaho Code, section 1406, subsection C, for the purpose of discussing the acquisition or interest in real property not owned by a public agency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holmgren. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Roll call.
Yes.
Pollard,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Alden,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
Okay, we are going into executive session. Thank you, Mr. Buckmeyer and everyone for joining us tonight.
Just see again, how there's no, so. They're gonna do interview clinics, do a small event,
Hey, I'll answer these.
Commissioner and Chairman.
Well, it's better than some of the other names we use.
Glad you toned it down.
Sharon, I just wanted to let you know that, I was over to Lane's house the other day,